Hello. All right, so we're going to start out tonight with an exam. Surprise, and welcome to college. That's how it works. And it's going to be really simple. I'm sure that the majority of you have actually taken this exam before. So all I need you to do is to give me a 1 or a 2 with your fingers when you can see the image on the screen clearly. Got it? Awesome. 1 or 2? Okay, there are no wrong answers. I see some hesitation. All right, one more time. Ready? 1 or 2? Okay, we're going to do it one more time. 1 or 2? How about now? Can you see it now? I'm going to zoom out for a second and explain to you what this means. Now, the 23 students that the image on the screen was referring to are resettled refugees. These are individuals who have been forced into migration after losing their homes, experiencing a trauma, and or facing death. Now, the resettlement process itself is quite lengthy. It can take anywhere between 18 months if you are in grave danger and considered the lucky ones, or it can go all the way on average to 19 years. Boise itself is a major resettlement hub in the United States, but the process of resettling is, like I said, quite lengthy. It requires a person to complete all of the things that you see on the screen. Included in this is a medical exam. This is a thorough examination of the refugee's medical history and requires a person to complete all 24 exams that you see on the screen. The purpose of this exam is to ensure that the health of the refugee does not create an undue burden on American people, as well as to ensure that the refugee does not carry any life-threatening diseases. Not once, however, before, during, or after the resettlement process, is there adequate access to eye exams for the refugee community. An exam that may seem so small can cause so many problems when not conducted. Now, as I said before, Boise is a major resettlement hub in the United States. In the last few years alone, we have resettled refugees from these 17 different countries. Once they resettle to Boise, there are many resources that are available to these refugees, one of those being the English Language Center. This is a required program for resettled refugees whose purpose is to teach independence through the power of language. In early of last year, I was connected by a professor on campus to a teacher at the English Language Center named Stephanie, who started noticing that her students were having a hard time reading their books, reading their worksheets, and reading the board in her classroom. And so inherently, Stephanie started asking the question, can my students see? And so last summer, it became my job to answer this question. I utilized an elective course option offered here at Boise State called an independent study course, which allowed me to use my research skills to answer Stephanie's question with a real-world impact. And unfortunately, the answer that I got for her was no, not really. 23 students out of her class of 30 needed corrected vision. And when we did the math, that meant that over 70% of students in one class could not see. I want you to take a moment to imagine what that would be like for a second. Living in a foreign environment, trying to connect with those around you, but possibly losing out on that opportunity because you can't effectively use the tools of communication. You can't see what it is you're trying to learn. This is a barrier that stands in the way of refugees becoming independent in their new life. And once I was able to look at this problem from this point of view, I started to realize how much uncorrected vision can really hinder a refugee's ability to effectively start a new life. So alongside Boise State's Project Shine and the English Language Center, I decided to create a pilot program that would help to fill the gaps in the resource system for refugees. This project is in its second year and is called the Refugee Vision Project, where our goal is to continue to fill a prescription need one student at a time. Now, like all of the projects that you've seen tonight, this project was not a quick fix. It did have a lot of steps. But it started when I initially began to reach out to local businesses to see who in our community had the means to support us. Since we required a formal exam to then get prescriptions, to then fill the prescription glasses, we had to rely on local businesses and nonprofits to help us fill those prescriptions. We did what was called an initial exam with the Lions Club of Idaho, who came to the English Language Center and brought their machine called the Plus Optics. This machine is a portable device that measures the way that light interacts within the eye to determine if a more formal follow-up exam is necessary. This is the machine that gave us the initial 23 out of 30 number. At that point, I reached out to Proof Eyewear, who is a local company rooted in the idea of doing good and giving back, and who had access to 23 prescription frames. They offered to donate the lenses as well as, to donate the frames and then pay for a portion of the lenses. So to offset the financial cost of paying for expensive lenses, I conducted First Thursday fundraising events at their flagship store, where we sold specific frames for one night a month for 3 consecutive months, and 100% of the proceeds from those frames went to the Refugee Vision Project. I was then connected to Eagle Vision One and Barbertown Eye Care, who graciously and courageously took on the task of screening all of these students. Over the course of a month, both clinics together helped us screen these students with formal exams for free. With the help of translators, we checked in, we waited with, and we observed the exams of all 23 students. And in the end, we found that all of them needed glasses. Now, once we finally had that pretty little prescription in our hands, Proof Eyewear came to the English Language Center and set up a pop-up shop of donated frames where they allowed the students to come in and pick the frames they wanted, and then they were measured for bifocals if necessary. They were attached to the appropriate paperwork, and then they were sent to a lab to have the lenses inserted. About a month and a half later, Proof Eyewear came back to the English Language Center, and with the help of translators, we distributed and fit the frames for all of the students. Together as a team, we watched the faces of the refugee students as the new world around them slowly started to come more into focus. With the help of local businesses and our community, we are striving to break down the barriers of independence for refugees in our community. And in doing so, we are hoping that we can make the resources that are available to them work more effectively. Now, I know that I just threw a lot of information at you this far into the program, and for retention purposes, that might not have been my best decision. But I did so because I felt that it was important for me to present my project's process in its entirety, from research to advocacy. And in doing so, I hope that I can speak to the idea that we are on a college campus, and we have the opportunity, maybe even, as Max said, the privilege, to use the tools that we are learning here to better our community in any way we can. Everybody in this room has connections to the world around them that produce far greater results when they are combined than they ever could separately. Now, like the slides that I showed you in the beginning, this problem was not easy to see at first. But after I started researching it and it started to become more clear, I started to realize that simply answering this question and moving on with my course was not going to be enough. This project only became possible because of a community coming together and collaborating. Because so many different entities decided that this problem was worth being a part of fixing together. Now, if you only remember one thing from my speech, please let it be this. Community coming together is what helps people thrive. And when people have the opportunity to thrive, they no longer have to just survive. I'm going to leave you with one last exam, and if you would please raise your hand when you can see the image on the screen clearly and leave it there, I would appreciate it. Can you see the problem now?